Welcome back to this special presentation. We're talking about India-Malaysia ties. This is day 2 of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to Malaysia. First day was spent in Kuala Lumpur, and today he is going to be at the center of PAR, that's Putrajaya, where he'll be holding talks with Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim. And covering another aspect of the ties, India's rich textile heritage is finding new admirers far beyond its borders, especially in Malaysia. Handloom saris, long cherished at home, are rapidly gaining popularity in Malaysian fashion circles.
From traditional silk to vibrant cotton weaves, handloom saris are weaving their way into the hearts and wardrobes of fashion-savvy Malaysians. Once seen mainly within India communities here, these artisanal textiles are now embraced by Malaysians of all backgrounds, worn at festivals, weddings, cultural events, and even modern fashion shows.
What is the kind of response that you get when you are selling these, Indian saris here?
After PM Modi have encouraged and talked about handloom saris, I see a lot of people, there are so many people who have love for saris, and they not only just our Indians, but the people locally who are Malaysians and also foreigners, especially, even they come and buy saris.
Whenever people come from all over the world to visit temple, they definitely wanted to buy only one sari. At least one sari I will buy from Banaras, and that one sari should be made in handloom, pure silk, pure zari. So they started reaching us.
Choosing one sari from this variety is very difficult for a woman. Yeah. So I'm very proud to be an Indian, and I love wearing a sari at any point of time, any day.
Here we have, two women entrepreneurs promoting saris across Southeast Asia, and not only saris but also Indian fabrics, Indian handloom, which can be woven or which can be stitched into traditional outfits of what people in Malaysia or Singapore wear. With camera person Jagmohan, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Well, yoga is gaining a lot of popularity in Malaysia. Many Malaysians have included yoga in their lifestyle. Our correspondent Meghna Dev reports on how yoga has gone mainstream in Malaysia and how many instructors credit Prime Minister Narendra Modi for taking yoga to the global stage.
Yoga studios are springing up across Malaysia's cities and suburbs. Many people are practicing yoga in search of balance, fitness, and peace of mind. Not only this, many have started gaining interest in it after COVID.
Everybody has embraced yoga more in terms of enriching themselves in mental health, dealing with stress. For me personally, it has enriched my life.
Really connecting to inner states. And I think that is the biggest appeal, because, the body is temporary, but you're going inwards and you're connecting to yourself and essence. And I think our yoga that we teach here does that. It helps people connect to their essence.
Instructors say interest in yoga has surged over the past decade, especially after yoga gained international visibility through global campaigns and events.
Many people from different culture coming, they want to be instructor, they want to learn the proper yoga. And all this because of the work by the Indian government and the Indian High Commission in Malaysia, really doing very well, connecting to the grassroots and doing so many programs, especially the International Yoga Day in Malaysia. Very big, very nice and wonderful.
Manoj, a young instructor in Kuala Lumpur, has been teaching yoga for the past 20 years. He attributes the importance now being given to instructors to PM Modi's endorsement of yoga. He says they had never been valued enough earlier.
Once Modi ji came, every Indian High Commissioner has become like a great supporter of yoga teachers. They know our name, we know their name, and they communicate with us. They really express the value they give to yoga teachers. And any high protocol event of Indian government happens, they make sure that the yoga teachers and the art teachers are given a special place. And they are made to feel that they are not just teaching something, they are representing India like cultural ambassadors. So they really created a beautiful ecosystem where yoga is seen not just as an exercise, but as really a spreading of a deep spiritual Indian tradition.
Large-scale celebrations and social media outreach have helped yoga reach millions worldwide. In Malaysia, the practice is finding new followers every day, driven by a growing focus on wellness and global awareness.
Yoga was once a lesser known niche activity that was being carried out in Malaysia. But now so many Malaysians are rolling out their mats at schools, at community events and different places and such yoga studios, and embracing yoga not just for physical but also for mental well-being. What we see here is that people are embracing, reflecting this ancient practice as a wellness substitute, and also they carry out this activity to ensure that this is a part of their modern lifestyle. With camera person Vinay, this is Meghna Dev for Day India from Malaysia.
And this is day 2 of the Malaysia visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was accorded the Guard of Honour welcome ceremony in Putrajaya earlier this morning. This is Prime Minister Modi's 3rd visit to Malaysia, his first since bilateral ties were upgraded to comprehensive strategic partnership in 2024.
Right, and the Ministry of External Affairs has also tweeted that India shares close bonds with Malaysia anchored in civilizational, historical and people-to-people ties. Wide-ranging discussions aimed at further cementing our enduring friendship and strong bilateral relations to follow. Reaffirming the enduring bonds that connect India and Malaysia, Prime Minister Modi being accorded a ceremonial welcome at Perdana Putra in these visuals on his official visit to Malaysia, his 3rd since he became the Prime Minister of India in 2014. His first visit was in 2015 and then in 2018 and now in 2026. Prime Minister had attended virtually the ASEAN-India Summit chaired by Malaysia, because Malaysia was the chair of ASEAN in 2025. Now in 2026, India is the chair of BRICS and Malaysia is one of the new partners of BRICS, with BRICS having expanded from 5 countries to now 11 countries. So a lot of complementarities both bilaterally as well as multilaterally in the Indo-Pacific region.
And we continue our conversation on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Malaysia. Those were visuals of a ceremonial welcome. Let me welcome to take the conversation forward Ambassador Sanjay Panda, former senior diplomat, and also Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj from School of International Studies, JNU. Welcome to both of you. Ambassador Panda, if I can come to you, in a short while from now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Ibrahim are set to hold bilateral talks. What do you see as the key priorities between the two nations?
Good morning, Suvendu. In fact, there are a lot which are on the table, but basically India-Malaysia relationship has, after some initial roller coaster ride, has now stabilized. And with Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, there is a personal equation with Prime Minister Modi. And as you can see that we are now moving, our relationship are moving on an upward trajectory. See, Malaysia figures prominently in our strategic calculus. So, even so does for Malaysia, so far as India is concerned. Now, it's part of our Lucas policy, and at the same time, we have our priorities, Indo-Pacific priorities, and, maritime security is an important component. So now, of late, defense cooperation has taken a little front seat, but as Ministry of External Affairs has mentioned, we have deep historical, cultural, and civilizational connect. So it will be not correct to isolate any particular part of the relationship that acquires importance. Almost the entire gamut of bilateral relationship is there for the two leaders to review.
Right. Right, we are standing by for more updates on the one-on-one talks and also delegation level talks between the two sides. Professor Bharadwaj, coming to you on the DPI infrastructure that India has and how it can be useful for students who are studying there, besides Indian businesses and tourists, and for boosting economic activity between India and Malaysia, considering that we now expect an announcement of interlinkages between India's UPI and Malaysia's BharatNet.
And those are visuals, I'll interrupt everyone for a moment. Those are visuals coming in from Putrajaya, the beginning of delegation level talks between India and Malaysia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim of Malaysia holding talks in Putrajaya, that's the seat of power in Malaysia. This is day 2 of Prime Minister Modi's visit to the Southeast Asian country, and those are visuals of the opening visuals and remarks.
My profound gratitude, thanks and appreciation. And we can witness from the spontaneous, wonderful reception. It is quite unique and rare. We don't do that. It's a tradition in this country. There are exceptions to the rule. So welcome, Prime Minister Modi. We have established excellent relations, and I'm proud to say thank you again, because in the last 2 years it has surpassed the normal, traditional relationship, thanks to you and the team. And we have discussed privately too some of the issues of concern, which I think need to be elaborated by our team. But the principle is important, that we consider India as a great friendly nation of ours, close to Malaysia, culturally, and of course now geopolitics, and we will expect more collaboration in all fields. And this visit is very significant to me personally too. I've been waiting for some time, that we postponed for good reason, but at least we have seen such a wonderful reception and affection from the people of Malaysia.
मेरे मित्र प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ, जिस प्रकार से मेरा और मेरे डेलीगेट का स्वागत किया गया। और मैंने देखा है कि परंपराओं से हट करके एक प्रकार से मलेशिया के जीवन को आपने इन कुछ ही घंटों में बहुत बखूबी प्रस्तुत किया और इतने बढ़िया तरीके से चीजों को ऑर्गेनाइज किया, वो हमेशा हमें से याद रहने वाली है। और इसके लिए मैं हृदय से विशेष रूप से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। और एक मित्रता क्या होती है, मित्रता की ऊंचाई और गहराई क्या होती है, ये मैं पूरी तरह अनुभव कर रहा हूँ, और इसके लिए मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ। एक्सेलेंसी, मेरा सौभाग्य है कि प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में मुझे तीसरी बार मलेशिया आने का मौका मिला है, और हमारी मित्रता ऐसी है कि आपके कार्यकाल में मुझे चौथी बार आपको मिलने का मौका मिल रहा है। ये भी अपने आप में हमारी गति और सक्रियता दिखाता है। बीते वर्षों में हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों ने जो गति और गहराई प्राप्त की है, वो वास्तव में प्रेरणादायक है। इसमें आपके अमूल्य योगदान के लिए मैं हृदय से आपका धन्यवाद करता हूं। आज एग्रीकल्चर और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग जैसे क्लीन एनर्जी और सेमीकंडक्टर तक हर क्षेत्र में हमारा सहयोग गहरा रहा है। स्किल डेवलपमेंट और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में भी हम अहम साझेदार हैं। हमारा रक्षा और सुरक्षा सहयोग भी लगातार मजबूत हो रहा है। एक्सेलेंसी, आसियान की सफल अध्यक्षता के लिए आपको एक बार फिर से मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। हमें विश्वास है कि मलेशिया के सहयोग से आसियान के साथ हमारे संबंध और अधिक गहरे होंगे और अधिक विस्तार होगा। एक्सेलेंसी, हमारे संबंधों की असली ताकत पीपल टू पीपल टाइज है। भारतीय मूल के लगभग 30 लाख मलेशियाई नागरिक हमारे देशों के बीच लिविंग ब्रिज है। कल आपके साथ मुझे डायस्पोरा से मिलने का भी अवसर मिला है। ये बहुत विशेष अनुभव था और मैंने देखा कि डायस्पोरा के लोगों का आपके प्रति जो व्यक्तिगत सम्मान है, आपके प्रति जो प्रेम है, वो कल दिख रहा था, मैं फील कर रहा था, बड़ा गर्व हो रहा था मुझे। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई में मित्र देशों का साथ बहुत मायने रखता है। एक तरह से एक्सेलेंसी, हमारा दृढ़ विश्वास है कि भारत और मलेशिया की समृद्धि एक दूसरे से जुड़ी हुई है। वैश्विक अस्थिरता के इस वातावरण में भारत और मलेशिया दो मैरीटाइम नेबर उसको अपने संबंधों की पूरी क्षमता का उपयोग करना जरूरी है। मेरी आज की यात्रा का मूल संदेश एकदम स्पष्ट है कि भारत मलेशिया के साथ मिलकर हमारे संबंधों को नए स्तर पर ले जाना चाहता है और सहयोग के हर क्षेत्र में विस्तार और प्रगाढ़ता लाना चाहता है। एक बार फिर मेरा और मेरे डेलीगेशन का इतना जानदार शानदार स्वागत करने के लिए मैं आपका और आपकी पूरी टीम का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
Those were opening remarks by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Ibrahim of Malaysia as the two leaders begin the delegation level talks. These are taking place in Putrajaya city of Malaysia.
Absolutely. And initially we heard Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim speaking about new areas of collaboration and the possibilities there. And then the Prime Minister began by thanking Prime Minister Ibrahim for the memorable welcome that was accorded to him, and he spoke of how he is experiencing what he called depth of friendship. He also said that this is his third visit to Malaysia, and the depth of our ties, the depth that has been received as far as this bilateral partnership is concerned in the last few years is inspirational, he said. He spoke of India-Malaysia cooperation in the agricultural space, in manufacturing, in clean energy, in semiconductors. He also spoke of how both sides have been cooperating and collaborating on skill development and capacity development or capacity building. And he also spoke of how security and defense cooperation between both the sides is getting stronger with time. He also says that he expects that India's relationship with Malaysia will help expand India's partnership with ASEAN. And he also spoke of the Indian diaspora there. He said 3 million Indians stay there, and he could sense the respect that they have for Prime Minister Ibrahim in the event yesterday.
And people to people connect, really forming the bedrock living bridge, as he often puts it, between India and Malaysia. And taking those points to our experts, Ambassador Sanjay Panda and Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj continue to be with us. Ambassador Panda, this particular aspect of ASEAN, when Prime Minister in his opening remarks congratulated Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim on successful presidency of ASEAN and also the role that Malaysia can play in deepening ties with ASEAN. How do you reflect on that? How do these three, India, Malaysia and ASEAN partnership come together?
See, ASEAN is very important in terms of our Indo-Pacific policy. See, we have been focusing on one aspect that there has to be ASEAN centrality in any Indo-Pacific configuration that we think of. So far as Malaysia is concerned, Malaysia is an important player in ASEAN. And our, for example, bilaterally with Malaysia, we have around 20 billion bilateral trade. And Malaysia is our third largest trade partner in the ASEAN. And India is, of course, the 10th figures in the top 10 of bilateral trade partners so far as Malaysia is concerned. Now, so that gets us to the point that Malaysia is very important in terms of India's equation with ASEAN and the growing trajectory of our relationship with the ASEAN. One is on the security side, strategic side, then other is from the trade and commerce side. So it is actually a comprehensive partnership that we are talking around. So when Prime Minister visited Malaysia in 2015, I mean, our strategic partnership was enhanced strategic partnership. 2024, when Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim visited India on his state visit, this was upgraded to comprehensive strategic partnership. And this is the first visit of Prime Minister Modi after our relationship has been taken to comprehensive strategic partnership. The term comprehensive itself, the significance is that it goes beyond the bilateral component and it has a major implication not only in the regional context, ASEAN context, but also in a global context.
Right. Professor Bharadwaj, we heard the Prime Minister speak of cooperation of countries with India in a fight against terrorism means a lot, he said. How significant is this statement made to Malaysia?
No, it's very, very important while talking about the issue of terrorism. And India is the most affected country in the world where we have been constantly facing terrorism from our western border. And the way some of the countries of India's western neighbor are radicalizing and using terrorism as an instrument or as a tool to destabilize the regional security and peace. That is a concerning. So India is constantly looking forward a global partnership or a global actions against the terrorism. And Malaysia is very important, being a Muslim-dominated society, though the Islam is very inclusive in Malaysia, very syncretic, and totally that what the Islam is preached in Malaysia today is the Indo-Islamic culture. When you will see the architecture, when you will see the minars, mosque, everything is built on the pattern of the Indo-Islamic culture and very similar to the India's mosque and minars and all that. But two very important aspects that I can witness is one, of course, the one of the person who basically preached the radical Islam all over the globe is the Zakir Naik. Zakir Naik is basically in Malaysia, and we are looking to extradite Zakir Naik to India because he had been initiating the South Asian security or religious harmony for many years. We have seen that there were one attack in Dhaka, that Holy Artisan Cafe, and the students from North-South University of Bangladesh were inspired from Zakir Naik. And he recently also, when there is a new government, interim government in Bangladesh, Zakir Naik has visited. So we are looking forward Malaysia's cooperation on countering terrorism and defying fundamentalism in this region. And Malaysia is very important, very significant partner. But one more aspect that I witnessed while, Malaysia has been working with very closely with Chinese because of the geostrategic and because of the economic interest. In 2021, basically there were one Islamic summit was convened to create a alternative Islamic leadership where Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, and Malaysia, these four countries were supposed to take part in this Islamic summit. That was somehow backed from the Chinese, because Chinese, they wanted to create an alternative Islamic leadership in the Middle East, where the Americans has supporting always Saudi Arabia. However, Pakistan did not participate, but Malaysia, Turkey, and Iran was part of that Islamic summit. So, find that Islamic Brotherhood is always good because India has also a large population of the Muslims and Muslim minorities, and they have been living together. So, it would be good for India also when you have this Islamic Brotherhood and Islamic solidarity, and that also can include it India with Malaysia, and that a bonding can be created. But the menace of terrorism used by state or state sponsored, I think that should be condemned, that should be countered, and for that Malaysia is very important country to convey to this or to join this drive against terrorism. That would not be in good taste, because as Prime Minister also correctly pointed out, a part of this counter-terrorism or security, we are also looking forward to have this defense and security linkages with Malaysia. And for that, we have seen that the high levels political visits focusing on strategic issues has been taken place. We are also trying to institutionalize strategic dialogue and consultations with the ASEAN countries while having the naval visits and military exercises, Coast Guard, tri-service exercises, and all that are taking place. But India has also become instrumental in ASEAN countries while we are giving the military training to the officials of these ASEAN countries, including Malaysia and Vietnam. But we are also become and emerge as the military supplier and services and spare parts and upgrading weapons in the Southeast Asian countries, including Vietnam, and I can say Malaysia. So we are looking forward to these kinds of cooperations with it. A part of the security and strategic, we are also looking, as Prime Minister correctly pointed out, about the deep linkages. And you also asked one question, that one is, of course, that UPI, we are announcing UPI in this widget, and that would definitely benefit to the students. They are studying in Malaysia, and there are also a strong diaspora, around 30 lakh people are there. So India-Malaysia Digital Council, they are coming out to introduce this UPI system, and that this UPI system will definitely enhance the commercial activities, business activities, and will also promote the investment between the two countries. One more aspect is very important about the cultural and historical linkages. As I said from the beginning, that India is basically we have the Eastern spirituality in the sense of having, and you talk about yoga, and yoga is always symbolizing Surya Namaskar. Because being a sun worshipping civilization, we go for Surya Namaskar, we go yoga, and as I also talked about, that Vastu also looks towards east. Everything is good for east. So connecting with Malaysia and with the Southeast Asian countries is always a very holistic approach of India, and this has been instrumental while we look the connections between Malaysia and Indonesia and Vietnam and all these, Cambodia and Singapore and all that, gives us an impression that we have very deep cultural linkages, either in the context of Hinduism or the Buddhism, or as I talked about the Islam. And for the Islamic, Indo-Islamic culture or Hindu and Buddhism, Malaysia is very important, very significant country that we can develop a people-to-people tie. And in this people-to-people tie, I think this would give us a very strong people understanding, or you can say bonding, while countering with the terrorism, while fighting against the new security threats that is emerging in the Indian Ocean, from the pirates, from the other like we when ensure the sea lane of communication and all that.
Right.
So I think that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit and a strong bonding between the two prime ministers will try to address the traditional security issues as well as the non-traditional security issues. And in the non-traditional securities, I think the core of the focus of this visit is build the capacity between the two countries, either the digital capacity or IT sector's capacity or service sector capacity, or you can say the health sector and environmental sectors and all that. So I'm sure that this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will strengthen, will deepen the economic ties as well as the strategic aspects of between the two countries.
Right. Ambassador Sanjay Panda, talking about trade and economic ties between India and Malaysia, it has been said that India is the third largest trading partner with Malaysia in ASEAN, the trade reaching nearly $20 billion in 24-25. Now, if we look at the ASEAN grouping as a whole, there have been certain complexities in realizing the true trade potential between India and ASEAN. At a time when India's trade diplomacy appears to be in top gear with the mother of all deals with the EU, also the trade deal with America taking shape. How do you see the possibilities? But before that, sir, we'll return to some more shots from Kuala Lumpur. Sorry, Putrajaya.
Please be seated. We shall now commence with the exchange of documents. May I invite the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Malaysia and Minister of External Affairs of India for the exchange of 6 documents. The documents are Agreement on Audio-Visual Co-Production, MOU on the Cooperation in Disaster Management, MOU on Cooperation in Combating and Preventing Corruption, exchange of letters on the MOU on United Nations Peacekeeping Cooperation, exchange of notes on cooperation in the field of semiconductors, and the handover of the Framework Agreement on International Big Excellencies. We will now proceed with the exchange of 4 documents and submission of a report. For the exchange of the first 3 documents, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Malaysia, and Secretary is for the Ministry of External Affairs of India. The documents are MOC on promoting social security program and activities for Indian citizens as insured person in Malaysia, exchange of notes on cooperation in vocational education and training, and exchange of notes on security cooperation. Thank you, Your Excellency, and Berbahagia Datuk Seri, please remain in place. May I invite the High Commissioner of India to Malaysia for the exchange of notes on cooperation of healthcare. May I invite both co-chairs for the Malaysia-India CEO Forum to submit the 10th Malaysia-India CEO Forum joint statement to the Secretary General and the High Commissioner of India. Thank you, Excellencies. With the statement of Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Excellency Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of India, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. We have said yesterday and also in our bilateral sessions this morning that we consider this meeting and these exchanges very vital, very strategic and critical to advance and enhance relations between India and Malaysia. Of course, we had long-standing relations since 1957, but we have elevated it to comprehensive strategic partnership in 2024. The deep historical ties, strong people-to-people linkages, and ever-expanding economic cooperation. We'll continue to deepen collaboration in all fields: trade and investment, semiconductor, digital economy, trade in local currency, connectivity, energy, agriculture, food security, defense, education security, TVET, including through Walua Center at the University of Malaya, healthcare, tourism, culture, and people to people. It is really comprehensive, and we believe that we can advance this and execute in a speedy manner with the commitment of our both governments, both foreign ministers. And we have seen also the exchanges of 11 documents, including MOUs, in an exchange of letters, which extended beyond normal bilateral arrangements, because we have covered even peacekeeping cooperation on semiconductor, healthcare, and security cooperation. Trade, of course, it has to further extend. I mean, India is growing by leaps and bounds. There's one spectacular rise in the international economic and trade scene, and therefore Malaysia, in the ASEAN context, would certainly benefit immensely if we could secure more ways and opportunities to collaborate with India, to extending beyond the $18.59 billion that we achieved in 2025. And one remarkable feat is this decision to use local currency as far as possible. And Bank Negara Malaysia and CBI has worked on this area for ringgit Malaysia and rupee in bilateral trade and investment. Similarly, in the digital connectivity, energy and semiconductor. Well, education remains pivotal. Many Malaysians were educated in India, and there is a growing number of Indian students in Malaysia too. But since the last decade or so, under the premiership of my good friend Prime Minister Modi ji, you have seen the spectacular recognition of Indian centers of excellence, education. There's not only comparable, but many of them have achieved outstanding recognition beyond the known institutions in the West. And therefore, we would certainly explore this to increase the number of students in selected disciplines and fields to study in India. Tourism and connectivity is, of course, an area that we will have to give more emphasis. We have seen this spectacular increase during the past year, and we hope to benefit from Malaysia through Asia and incredible India through visa liberalization and increase air connectivity, and to see the spectacle. And I've been in India, I don't know, umpteen times, and covered hundreds of places, and I still think that I have not covered India. It's too huge, Prime Minister. And it's amazing country to visit, to learn the history, the culture, the arts, other than the new advancement in the technology, new technology and IT. In terms of regional and international issues, I must express my appreciation, because in my discussions with Prime Minister Modi, it is not just normal pious platitudes and diplomatic exchanges. It is exchange between true friends, full of trust and understanding. And therefore, I must also take this opportunity to express my regards and thanks to him for his firm commitment to support all peace efforts throughout the world, be it in Ukraine, Russia, or in the case of the Middle East, and particularly in Gaza. His commitment to support the peace process is unequivocal, and I must therefore express my appreciation. And as a sign of our good relations, I immediately have agreed to support the decision of the government of India to open a consulate of India in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. Thank you again, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. May I invite the Honorable Prime Minister of India to deliver his statement.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार, सलामत पागी। सबसे पहले मैं अपने करीबी मित्र प्राइम मिनिस्टर अनवर इब्राहिम का गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत के लिए हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। पिछले वर्ष मैं आसियान समिट के लिए मलेशिया की यात्रा नहीं कर पाया, लेकिन मैंने मेरे प्रिय मित्र को वादा किया था कि मैं जल्द से जल्द मलेशिया आऊंगा, और आज वर्ष 2026 की पहली विदेश यात्रा में मैं मलेशिया आया हूं। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और मलेशिया के संबंध बहुत विशेष हैं। हम मैरीटाइम नेबर्स हैं। सदियों से हमारे लोगों के बीच गहरे और आत्मीय रिश्ते रहे हैं। आज मलेशिया भारतीय मूल की आबादी वाला दुनिया का दूसरा सबसे बड़ा देश है। हमारी सभ्यताएं, साझा सांस्कृतिक विरासत और लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों से जुड़ी हुई है। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले कुछ वर्षों में हमारे संबंधों ने एक नई रफ्तार पकड़ी है, और इसमें मेरे मित्र प्रधानमंत्री अनवर इब्राहिम का विशेष योगदान है। हमारे बीच एनर्जी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में सहयोग बहुत मजबूत हुआ है। डिजिटल इकोनॉमी, बायोटेक और आईटी में आपसी इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ा है। टूरिज्म और पीपल टू पीपल टाइज भी गहरे हुए हैं। इन्हीं उपलब्धियों से प्रेरित होकर आज हमने हमारी साझेदारी में अभूतपूर्व गति और गहराई लाने का निर्णय लिया है। फ्रेंड, सिक्योरिटी के क्षेत्र में हम काउंटर टेररिज्म, इंटेलिजेंस शेयरिंग और मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी में सहयोग मजबूत करेंगे। हम रक्षा सहयोग को भी और व्यापक बनाएंगे। एआई और डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजीज के साथ साथ हम सेमीकंडक्टर, हेल्थ और फूड सिक्योरिटी में साझेदारी को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। आज आयोजित सीईओ फोरम ने ट्रेड और इन्वेस्टमेंट के नए अवसर खोले हैं। हम स्ट्रेटेजिक ट्रस्ट से इकोनॉमिक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का रास्ता बनाएंगे। फ्रेंड्स, कल मुझे मलेशिया के भारतीय प्रवासियों से मिलने का मौका मिला। अपनी उपस्थिति से मेरे मित्र प्राइम मिनिस्टर अनवर इब्राहिम ने भी इस सम्मेलन का गौरव बढ़ाया। 30 लाख प्रवासियों का यह लिविंग ब्रिज हमारी बहुत बड़ी शक्ति है। उनके वेलफेयर के लिए उठाए गए कदम हमारे रिश्तों को मानवीय आधार देते हैं। मलेशिया में भारत के वर्कर्स के संरक्षण के लिए सोशल सिक्योरिटी एग्रीमेंट, टूरिज्म के लिए ग्रेटिस ई वीजा और डिजिटल इंटरफेस यूपीआई का मलेशिया में लागू होना, ये सभी कदम दोनों देशों के नागरिकों के जीवन को सरल बनाएंगे। क्योंकि कोई भी पार्टनरशिप तभी ताकत से सफल होती है जब लाभ सीधे लोगों तक पहुंचे। फ्रेंड, भारत और मलेशिया को तमिल भाषा के प्रति साझा प्रेम भी जोड़ता है। मलेशिया में तमिल की मजबूत और जीवंत उपस्थिति शिक्षा, मीडिया और सांस्कृतिक जीवन में दिखाई देती है। मुझे भरोसा है कि आज के ऑडियो विजुअल एग्रीमेंट से फिल्म और संगीत, विशेष रूप से तमिल फिल्में, हमारे दिलों को और पास लाएगी। हम अपने युवाओं के बीच यूनिवर्सिटी एक्सचेंज, स्टार्टअप कनेक्ट और स्किल डेवलपमेंट के अवसर भी बढ़ा रहे हैं। हमारे बढ़ते संबंधों को सपोर्ट करने के लिए हम मलेशिया में नया कॉन्सुलेट भी खोलने जा रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र के विश्व की ग्रोथ इंजन के रूप में ये उभर रहा है। हम आसियान के साथ पूरे इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र में विकास, शांति और स्थिरता के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। भारत आसियान सेंट्रलिटी को प्राथमिकता देता है। मलेशिया की सफल आसियान अध्यक्षता के लिए मैं एक बार फिर आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। मलेशिया जैसे मित्र देशों के सहयोग से भारत आसियान के साथ अपने संबंधों को व्यापक बनाएगा। हम इस बात पर सहमत है कि आसियान भारत व्यापार समझौते आर्टिका की समीक्षा शीघ्र ही पूरी हो जानी चाहिए। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी सार्थक चर्चा की। वैश्विक अस्थिरता के इस माहौल में भारत और मलेशिया की बढ़ती मित्रता दोनों देशों के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण है। हमारा साझा मत है कि आज के चैलेंजेस का समाधान करने के लिए ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूशंस का रिफॉर्म बहुत जरूरी है। हम शांति के सभी प्रयासों का समर्थन करते रहेंगे और आतंकवाद पर हमारा संदेश स्पष्ट है। नो डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स, नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज। एक्सेलेंसी, भारत मलेशिया संबंधों के प्रति आपकी प्रतिबद्धता का हम सराहना करते हैं। आइए हम साथ मिलकर प्रॉस्परस मलेशिया का आपका सपना और विकसित भारत के हमारे संकल्प को साकार करें। एक बार फिर आपकी मित्रता, आपके गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत और आतिथ्य के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम आपको भारत में स्वागत करने के लिए उत्सुक है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जुम्पा लागी।
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have now concluded our joint press conference. We kindly
Joint press statement by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Malaysian counterpart, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. And while rounding up, the Prime Minister made a very strong assertion on counter-terrorism. He said that there should be no double standards and compromise on terrorism. Besides that, he also announced that India and Malaysia have decided to bring unprecedented depth and pace in their ties. And he said that the strategic trust between India and Malaysia should lead to economic transformation.
Host of areas where the cooperation is celebrated by both the leaders. Cooperation in trade, in healthcare and tourism. Both Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and Prime Minister Narendra Modi in their respective statements stressed on the greater potential that the two countries have in engaging and taking forward. Prime Minister Modi also spoke about the importance of the Indian diaspora that we've been talking about, as a living bridge between the two nations, social security for Indian workers, UPI activating UPI in Malaysia as an important priority. There's also reference to a startup connect where the technology companies of both the nations can work together, given that both countries have invested significantly in semiconductor and emerging technologies. There's also a reference to the new consulate building, improving people-to-people ties between the countries. Prime Minister Modi in his statement talks about the larger area region of the Indo-Pacific, the importance of centrality of the ASEAN and the significance of reforms of the global institutions as well, even while India-Malaysia improved ties in a largely volatile geopolitics.
Absolutely. The Prime Minister said we are committed to peace and security in the Indo-Pacific, and Indo-Pacific is emerging as the new growth engine, and the ITIGA review process will soon be over, the Prime Minister announced. Now, this is basically an ASEAN-India trade and goods agreement that was entered into force in 2010-2011, but India has since found that it's not been very balanced in terms of trade because there have been more imports from ASEAN countries to India than from India to ASEAN countries. So that required a review. That review process would be almost over, the Prime Minister has announced in the press statement.
Right. Ambassador Panda, if I can come to you, your key takeaways from the leaders' statements, what kind of direction does it give to the relations to the two countries?
Absolutely outstanding. In fact, if you see both the statements, there were references to the bilateral as well as to the global challenges that the countries are face to it. Before anything else, I want to give credit to President Trump for really contributing in India, enhancing its ties and looking for new avenues of deepening, not only India and the countries having this intent to really strengthen the cooperation. Now, if you see both the statements by both the Prime Minister spoke about a very substantive relationship that we are talking about, all encompassing. And here, now, when before the statements, you asked me about the economic content of the relationship. So, if you see that with India and Malaysia, there was always a very strong economic and business component, but which was never really actualized. I remember during the period I was posted in Kuala Lumpur as the Deputy High Commissioner between 2004 and 2008. We were working a lot on starting with ASEAN, then Malaysia was holding the ASEAN chair. So with ASEAN and parallelly with Malaysia, there was a SECA, Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, which was mooted, but there were several gaps. And at that point in time, there were also projects which Malaysia was implementing in India, and India was also implementing in Malaysia in our respective areas of core competence. For example, you may be aware of this IRCON project of railways, which encountered a lot of roadblocks before it finally got implemented, but Malaysia in the meanwhile took up a lot of infrastructure projects in India, and those were implemented. But we never really went ahead as very strong partners, because even before that, Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, who was of Indian origin and basically his ancestors came from Kerala. But then that was the time the relationship was actually one day going on an upward trajectory, then other day nosediving. So there were issues. But at this point in time, as we see that we have realized the potential of the two countries in taking forward this relationship to where it deserves to go. The other thing is now the importance which is attached to trade, investment and economic cooperation is, you can see the 10th round of this CEO's forum which was held today. It has charted we do not have the details as yet, but as per the pre-forum CEO's forum, the intent and the mandate that they had to chart a roadmap of private initiative getting into the manufacturing sector and also in the commercial field. Now that is going to, it cannot all be state driven. So the private initiative is very important. Now, here, now we are moving in the right direction so far as the economic commercial sphere, and so far as the people to people Prime Minister, both the Prime Ministers pointed out, I feel that this has been the major foundation. The 30 lakh or the 3 million Indians, people of Indian origin in Malaysia, they have been a major link between the two countries. Initially, many of them came as plantation workers, and there was a time, Malaysia is a society where there was clear stratification. There were Malaysian Chinese, there was Malaysian Indians, and the Malays.
There was this issue of statelessness, I understand. Statelessness of Indian plantation workers, isn't it?
No, now actually things...
During the Mahathir Mohamad years, I mean, not now.
Exactly. Then that was a major issue. Now they have been brought into the mainstream. You see, earlier, the commercial part, economic and commerce was controlled by the Malaysian Chinese. Almost 60 to 70% of wealth was with the Malaysian Chinese. The Malays controlled the government and defense, and that was in the administration phase. And the Indians who were academically doing very well, they were more into education, lawyers, doctors, and not many in the business. But now things are progressively changing. Okay, so there is a perceptible change, and that is why I feel that this is a very important link, and India's role has been very important in getting the place that they deserve. So in that context, that social security agreement, which is very, very important. And now talking about education, you know, it's been 20 years, over 20 years, that Manipal University came into Malaysia. That was the Melaka Manipal University. But now things have gone much beyond that. So it is really all encompassing, and we are moving in the right direction. And I feel that it is from India's point of view, strategically, I mean, to counter, let's put it very bluntly. Now, when we are talking about UNCLOS and the law of the sea, and Prime Minister talked about maritime neighbors. So there is no mincing of words here. We have to be together, secure our oceanic space, and our, you know, these are areas which are in our mutual interest, and we are going forward with it. I think very, very positive statements and intent, and the body language felt the seriousness of the two leaders of the two countries to move forward.
Right, we'll leave it at that. So 11 documents exchanged between India and Malaysia, and a very strong assertion at the end. Prime Minister saying there should be no double standards and compromise on terrorism. Message directed not just to that part of the world, but to the entire world, to our neighborhood as well. Well, with that, we'll come to the close as far as this special broadcast is concerned.
Sure.
Thank you, Professor Bharadwaj and Ambassador Panda, for having joined us with your perspectives.
And Prime Minister on day 2 has more important engagements ahead. The bilateral engagements have just concluded, but he has engagements vis-a-vis engaging with the economic aspects, the CEOs of the companies, and many other cultural aspects as well. Our comprehensive coverage of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Malaysia continues after a short break.
Stay tuned.